All right, you're shopping for a 60 to 66 Chevy or GMC truck, and you're on Marketplace, and you see these things going for anywhere between, I don't know, $1,000 and $50, $60, $70, $80,000. What's the difference, and what should you be looking for in these things? Listen, I got a video out there for the beaters already. If you're just looking at spending $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000, if you're looking at spending a little bit more, you might want to look at a little bit more. What's this truck worth? Well, to me, it's worth maybe $20,000. Why isn't it worth $30,000, $40,000, or $50,000? It looks the same as those trucks. Well, let's take a look at it and find out. I see up front here, it's got a chrome bumper. It's got a nice chrome grille. It's got this chrome surround on the windshield rubber. It's got this chrome around the side here, and it's got this custom badge. That means this is a GMC custom. When I look inside, I see we got the chrome handles. We got the chrome on all the knobs here. We got this nice gauge bezel. We have this nice seat. I don't know if that's part of it or not. Some people say it is. You get this nice overstuffed seat, and you get the chrome rear bumper as well. If I missed something, let me know. I believe that's part of the custom package on a GMC. On the Chevys, they have a very similar one. You're probably more familiar with the one that comes down the sail panel here and slips across the side. I know on the door panels on the Chevys, they got a white outline on the door panels. And I believe on the glove box, it's got Chevrolet along the bottom and some other interesting things as well. This truck being, you know, what I consider one of the favorites. It's a half ton, which nowadays most people want the half tons. They don't want the 3/4 tons. They don't want the 1 tons, because at this point in the truck's lives, where they're 60 plus years old, really they're just taking the wife out for ice cream. They're taking the grandkids out. Maybe they're taking the young fella and his girlfriend out to the movies or to the local car shows, the car meets, cars and coffee, that kind of thing. We don't really use them so much for work trucks. If you do, this video is probably not for you, because you're probably not spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 on a 1-ton work truck from 1964. You're probably going to get something a little more reliable and dependable and newer, better fuel economy, all the rest of it. But if you are looking for a 60 to 66 Chevy or GMC, you should know that the half tons are going to be most sought after. From there, we go into the short boxes. The short boxes, I don't care who you are, if you have 2 trucks and they're equal in every single way, one's a short box, one's a long box, the short box is worth more. That's not to say everybody likes a short box. Some people prefer a long box. But dollar for dollar, if 2 trucks are the exact same, the short box is worth more money. That's all there is to it. I'm not going to argue about it. Don't argue with me. Same as the back window. Big back window, trucks are worth more. Don't argue with me about you prefer a small back window. So do I. But the big back window trucks bring more money. So if you have a short box, half ton, big back window truck, you're well on your way to the truck being worth the most that it can be before we get anywhere else. But you asked, I'm going to tell you. So this is a 4-speed truck. I think the automatics are actually worth more money. But you have 4-speed, you have 3-speed, you have a 4 in the floor, you have 3 in the tree, or you have an automatic with the power glide. This is actually a 4-speed Saginaw, so it's a car transmission in the truck. So if you're a guy who's after originality, that's a bit of a red flag, because that ain't original. If you're like me, I don't really care that much about that stuff. To me, the Saginaw is better than the original SM420 or whatever it is. I know you say it's a 4-speed, but the reality is it's a 3-speed with a granny low. Yeah, fight me on it. I don't care. Under the hood here, you'll see I got a V8 motor. Again, that'll bring more money than a 6-cylinder. Not saying anything bad about a 6-cylinder. There's a lot of great 6-cylinders. In fact, my favorite 6-cylinder is the 292, but the 250 is good, and all the rest of them. You know, honestly, I don't think any of them are bad. This is a V8. This one doesn't look like it's a fresh V8. Looks like a V8. It's got some miles on her. So, you know, you take the good, you take the bad. What you want to look for is under the hood, how well somebody cared for it. Like, to me, this should all be kind of cleaned up and detailed a bit. That really kind of takes away from the value. Back there on the firewall, you can see they stopped painting when they got close to the motor. That kind of takes away a little bit from the value. Just a small detail, same back there. This frame is in great shape. It's too bad they didn't put a little paint on it. I would like to see that. Instead, they put a little paint on the fuel pump and the lower rad hose. Don't do that. That's not a good look. The previous owner did tell me that that's what he did. It's not a Craigslist rebuild. You know, where, you know, it's rebuilt, I just lost the receipts. This is just an old motor. It has been rebuilt. There's a tag on it in the back, actually, but it's not sold to me as a fresh rebuild. He doesn't know when it was rebuilt, which is fair. So under here, I wish I could tell you it was a little more detailed. It looks like this was painted off the truck, but that's kind of where the good news ends on the paint. So what are you looking for? Well, let's take a look. These trucks, the beds, they tend to rot out, you know, over top of the wheel well, as is pretty typical. There's two strut supports, one here, one here. They rust out there pretty good. That feels good. Underneath, well, let's look in here first. So these rockers, always bad. Well, I shouldn't say always bad, almost always bad. And this has been replaced already. Somebody's replaced it. It's pretty typical. You want to look at how good the repair is. So this looks like a good repair here. It doesn't look so good here. The finish work is not fantastic. And that's going to take away from the value for it, for me. I look at the rest of it here. Again, it's not a great finish work there. But the rocker is done. So there is value there. I look in here in this corner. Grab me that light.
Sure.
I look in here at the corner of this door. That looks really good. You can see that? Normally those are rotted out and kind of schmoozed up with filler. A little bit like you see here. So, again, I would have liked to have seen this cleaned up, spend some time making that pretty. But it looks like they're kind of, you know, taken care of. There was some sort of a repair there. I want to look at my spacing as I come along here. This isn't bad. These were never perfect to begin with, so that's not terrible. You want to look at the bottom, see how all your bodywork is down here. There's supposed to be a bit of a gap in here. It looks like it's filled in. It's not uncommon for guys to do that, especially a home hobbyist. If you dropped this truck off at a shop and spent $20,000 on paint and body and got this, you might be a little bit upset. Same as this here. It's just, it's kind of like unfinished body work, really. So that would count as a mark against it in my books. Let's crawl underneath and take a look. Now these trucks under here, you almost always see this front floor support needs repair, replacement. Under here you'd see this is the inner rocker. This one's been replaced. So this is the outer rocker has been replaced and the inner rocker has been replaced. There's also been a patch put in here, and they sprayed this with like Raptor liner or bed liner, rock guard, something when they were done for soundproofing, or maybe just to hide the schmooze. I'm not too sure. But this is where we're at. So this has been repaired. You can see there's a patch in here. Don't think that's how I would have done it. This is like a $40 piece or $30 piece. I would have just replaced it. You know, it's not a lot of money. Back here we have the same thing for the rear support. This one doesn't look like it's been touched. By the looks of it anyway, it looks good. So we got a floor patch here. We got inner rockers been done, outer rockers been done. This has been patched. It's all fairly acceptable. Again, not on a 30, 40, 50, 60, $70,000 build, but on a cheaper truck, I'd say that's okay. Now, when you're talking about these short boxes, you want to really keep an eye out to see if it's been cut. Now, to me, it doesn't bother me so much if a guy cuts down the long box and makes a short box. If it's done properly, give her no harm, no foul. But a lot of people do care, and it does change the value of it for a lot of people. So when comes time to sell, it could affect what you get for it. So if that's a concern to you, keep that in mind. It wouldn't change my mind one way or the other, but it might for you. This truck here is an original short box frame. Original to the truck, that I don't know yet, but I do know it's original. It's an original frame. I look at my exhaust here, and short exhaust comes right off the long tube header. A short piece there, about 2 feet long, and then a muffler, and then about 2 feet of tailpipe, and kicks out before the rear axle. Not fantastic. I'd prefer to see this kick out behind the rear tires, preferably under the rear bumper, but that's what I like to see. Under here we look and we see coil springs in the back. You can get these with leafs. I prefer the coils. I think they ride better. He's also got coilover shocks. All right, you get bonus points for that. I like it. And I noticed a new U-joint, new brake lines, new rubber brake line. Yeah, things are looking good under here. Looks like some of this stuff's got some age to it, so keep that in mind too when you're checking boxes for how much you want to spend. These are your cab mounts. They look good. There's your rear cab mount and your front cab mount there. No problems on either. I'm happy underneath for the most part. I think that could have been done a little cleaner, but I'm okay with it. Body lines. Okay, let's be maybe real clear. These aren't Porsches. They're not fancy high-end European sports cars with high precision. These are pickup trucks, but you should still have some resemblance of basic body lines that are close to where they should be. This is real good. This needs a little bit of work to line it up. To me, this gap is too big and should be closed in. Same as on this hood, that should be closed in. It's as simple as pulling that hood back, adjusting the hood back, and you could close this gap up here to resemble the other side a little bit better. You want to watch here. You want to watch here. Like that should be lined up a little bit better. We come around to this side. Body lines are looking pretty good. I think I can live with all of that. A little wider up top than at the bottom, but not terrible. You want to watch things like, how's this door to the cab? Well, as I get down at the bottom here, it's kicked out a bit. That should really be folded in a little bit more. But now that the paint's on, you don't want to start smacking that around too much, do you? Same as this fender is in a bit. The door is out. Like if it was me, I would pull this fender out a little bit, straighten that out, and get rid of that. Let's take a look at the other side. This side, same thing. So it's kicked out a little bit on the bottom here. Not terrible, but depending on how much you're spending, you might not want to see that on a $70,000 truck. Up front here, you want to see that your gaps between your bumper and your headlights They should be pretty much the same on both sides. If not, it means your bumper needs an adjustment or there's been some damage. Typically it's bumper adjustment after paint, because these will get removed for paint, and then when they get put back on, the guy's working alone. He tries his best, but it can be tough. So this is the front end here. You can notice that that's got a 5-bolt pattern. So a real popular upgrade on these like 63 to 66 trucks, even the 60 to 62 guys have done it as well, is they'll swap out a square body front end suspension kit. So you end up swapping out that whole front end assembly. You can find it online. I'm not going to go into it too deep here, but it'll give you disc brakes, and it'll give you upper and lower control arms, newer ball joints, coil spring suspension in case you're running torsion bar before. But it'll give you the 5-bolt as well. And then on the back, you can just buy the axles that are changed over to 5-bolt. It's a nice upgrade and something you need to take into consideration if you're looking at buying a truck. If that's been done, there is value there. And I guess you got to pay for it, or at least account for it. So that is a good upgrade. If it's been done, take it into account. It matters. Drivetrain. Okay, so let's talk engine first. These trucks came with inline 6s, V6s in the GMCs. That's more of a down south thing. I've never seen one up here in a Canadian truck. And V8s. So this truck here currently has a V8. It was originally an inline 6. You can tell that because you can see where the old rad was, where it's down lower. It's now up higher because it's a V8, and that's where it needs to sit. But if you prefer an inline 6, I got great news for you. They are a little cheaper to buy. They're pretty plentiful, and there's nothing wrong with them. If you prefer the stock look and feel, and the way an inline 6 runs and handles, man, they run like a sewing machine. There's nothing wrong with them. There's lots there. Dollar for dollar, though, a V8 is almost always worth more than an inline 6, all things being equal. Being that both are rebuilt, or both are original, or both are non-runners, or both are running great. Doesn't really matter. If they're equal, the V8 wins out almost every single time. This one's got a small block Chevy, which is great. You'll see big blocks. Guys will swap in a big block Chevy. Guys will put it in an LS. Well, there's an expensive upgrade. If it's LS swapped, you're gonna pay up for it. There's no two ways about it. If it is V8 swapped, like this one, you want to see how it was done. What are they using for a rad? Like this one looks a little small in my mind's eye. It'd be nice to see an aluminum rad here, and it would be nice to see a 4-core rad here. Headers are a nice touch. These ones are kind of old and ratty. So yeah, when you're spending big dollars, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, 60, even more, you want to see a detailed engine bay or a very clean original engine bay. You don't want to see something that needs any work. And something like this, where you can see it does need a little bit of work, needs tidying. Frame could use some paint. The firewall could use some touch up. That's going to work against you on the value of the truck. So keep that in mind as well. You'll hear people talk about how is the metal over the windshield. Well, they're referring to the metal here and also inside over the windshield. This one looks good. You want to look for rust. It usually starts right along here and runs along like so. And what it's from is mice will get up into the roof because it's a nice place to hide, and they get some moisture down there. It rots out along there. A lot of times we'll see it rotted out in the corners, sometimes even over the doors. This looks like a good example of what you want to find. And typically when you start spending this kind of money, you're not going to see that kind of stuff. That's more project truck kind of stuff, but something you should keep in mind and keep an eye open for that. And don't be afraid to get in there with a magnet if you do suspect that this has all been, you know, touched up with filler or filled up with spray foam and then bondoed over. Don't be afraid to get up and look at that stuff. Something as simple as a windshield can be quite expensive. So on the 64 to 66 trucks, they're not bad. These are not expensive windshields, maybe 250 bucks or so, and then another 50 to 75 bucks for the rubber, maybe a little bit more for the ones with the chrome trim. Keep in mind though, the 60 to 63 windshields are a lot more money. Up here in Canada, we're seeing them go for between $650 and $750. So, and that's just the windshield. You still got the rubber, and unless you are experienced in installing these things, you probably don't want to install it yourself. So you're going to spend upwards of $1,000 maybe possibly to replace a knee knocker windshield. So keep that in mind. At least in my area, that's what we're looking at for a windshield. This guy here, not so much. Maybe $350 installed. That's pretty good. Or maybe 400 bucks with new rubber. Your seat upholstery should be in pretty good shape when you're buying a truck at this level. You should be able to it should be at least usable, if not very nice, you know, depending on your budget. You know, if you're talking 20 grand, it should be usable. If you're talking 70, 80 grand, it should be restored. So keep that in mind. This seat here is a good usable seat, but this would be the minimum that you would find acceptable when you start spending some real money. The tailgates on these trucks really took a licking. A lot of these trucks were old farm trucks, work trucks. They belonged to plumbers, contractors, carpenters, electricians, so on and so forth. And they took a licking. It's not uncommon for these to get beat up and have to get hammered out and straightened out. They do make aftermarket ones. I don't know, buyer beware, I guess. Keep an eye out for that, though. It should be on your bucket list, or should be on your check-it list to check out the condition of the tailgate, as well as this front panel. They get hammered out pretty good. This one's got a couple dents in it. Sometimes they get wowed right out, so keep an eye on that as well. Window felts. Now these kits can be a few $100s to replace the entire thing. You got these guys here, this guy up around here, back inside here. You got the rubber on this guy. It can get expensive, and when they change them out, quite often what a guy will do is he'll do it after paint. Like you can see on this truck, they were removed for the paint job instead of taped off. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see tape lines in there and then the old color paint behind it. You want to see it just like this. You want to see the new felts over top of the old paint. That's what I like to see. And I know that that's going to roll up nice and tight, and it's not going to leak and not going to flop around, make a bunch of noise. It's good. That's what you want to see. How your stainless work here, depending on the money you're spending, it should be in decent condition. You can see this stuff here is complete, which is super important that you have it all. But depending on the money you're spending, watch out for things like this, these little dings. They can be expensive to get fixed up if you care about it. And even like the scuffs like this, you got to take some time and polish them out. But they will come out. All of this is salvageable. It's just going to take a little bit of elbow grease. But it's most important that you have it. Try and make sure you have all of it, because it can be a bear to track it down, and guys don't like breaking up the sets. What's it worth? I know there's always going to be the guy who says it's worth zero, it's needs too much work, blah blah blah. Okay, and there's guys that are going to say, that's worth 30 grand here. Okay, give me 30 grand, come and get it, I'll deliver it. But to me, As it is, it's a $15,000 truck, and it's pretty cool. And I'm pretty happy to have it.
We are.
All right, that's gonna do it for this one. Do me a favor, if you stuck around this long, think about subscribing. I could really use some subscribers around here. And we're gonna get to work on this thing almost immediately. So tune in next week when I think I'm gonna drop the front end about 3 inches, to bring this thing down a little bit, have her sit down, and we'll see where we go from there. What's next on the list? I think I'm gonna get into the paint correction. All right, thanks guys.
Now I have a checklist for when I see the ads come up.
There you go. So these are the things I look for, and this is why I say be careful when you start spending a little more money, because in the pictures this thing looks fantastic. Up close and personal, a lot of things pop up that really differentiate it from being a $30,000-$40,000 truck. So you know what you're getting into. Don't be afraid to, like Faith and I, we had a 16-hour trip the other day to go get this thing. Yeah, it would be easy just to say, get a shipper just to bring it, spend a few dollars, but sometimes that's kind of nice just to have it delivered. I've done that before, and it's pretty easy when the vehicle you're doing it with is $2,000 or $3,000, but when it's a few more, you want to go there and kick some tires. In fact, the previous owner that I got it from did just what we talked about. He had it delivered and he got it and he was pretty disappointed. I don't want to tell you what he's into it for, but I got it I traded my Acadian for it. I think I did pretty good on it, and I think he didn't. But regardless, to me, that's a $15,000-$20,000 truck. $15,000 right now. Probably after, I don't know, a couple of weekends fiddling with it, I could probably move that up to a $20,000 truck. At any rate, I think I'm going to enjoy it for the summer. And we'll take it out and we'll get some ice cream.
Yes.
And we'll hit the odd car meet. Yep. And hang out with like-minded people. And they'll come up and they'll pick the truck apart. And that's all just part of the fun and games. So yeah, anyway, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. 1964 GMC, bought on Facebook Marketplace, and let me know what you think.